Hey guys, welcome to the Phoenix Project. I'm here with Darren Levy. Welcome to the podcast, man. It's so good to have you here, man.
Dill, thanks for having me, man. It's a pleasure to chat.
No, I appreciate it. So hey, how you been going anyway, man?
I've been good. I've been good. I was just saying to you off camera, I'm addicted to walking of all things at the moment. So we're in lockdown at the moment, and yeah, I like the common recommendations of like 10,000 steps a day. I've been smashing that. I've been going like 30,000, almost 30,000 steps a day, and I'm just like on a roll. But yeah, if you ask me how I'm going, like that's pretty much the most interesting thing happening in my life currently.
No, sweet. How have you been dealing with like the corona and the lockdown and stuff over the year and a half?
Huh. Uh, yeah, man, like ebbs and flows, I guess. End of last year, that like 100 plus lockdown that we had in Melbourne was hectic. And when I say hectic, I mean like it fucked with my head quite a bit. This year has been a little bit better. This lockdown in particular, I feel like I was a lot more, lack of a better way of saying, like prepared.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've been on a bit of a better mental uh like route. But I guess you guys, so you're in Brisbane or you're in Queensland.
Well, yeah, I'm in
So
Queensland, so
you
I haven't
haven't had
really
much of this. You've
haven't
been
had
like,
it much. Did have it yeah, around when it first started.
mm,
Yeah, we did have it for a few months, but then it just popped up in little spots in the state. Like it happened in Cairns a couple months ago, and yeah, it's been in and out of Brisbane every
mm.
few months. It happens and then goes away. Like we get out of it, and so yeah, we haven't had it as close as bad as yeah, New South Wales and Victoria have had it. So,
Sure, sure.
but
Life's been
yeah,
good.
so yeah, we've had it, yeah, pretty damn good compared to you guys. Yeah. But yeah, so how's
Yeah.
has it how much has it affected like with your videos and stuff like that?
Mm. So basically, like I'm obviously I can't drive,
Yeah.
and that's the primary way that I get content, I guess, to make these
Yeah.
videos. So I've been scraping the bottom of the barrel of like content from my content bank. Last year, in our lockdown, I ran out of content. So then I had to get a little bit more creative around how I was making my my Friday uploads and stuff. I last year I was doing these like Omegle meetups and just having banter with people on Omegle, which was fun. It was like good banter. It was called banter. This year I'm not doing
Yep.
that as much, or at least I'm not doing that just yet because I haven't run out of content yet, but I'm pretty close. And it's such a pity because like I've been going for like for more than 4 years, like trying to build up a brand around a show. And when you have these like interruptions, it makes it more difficult. But I actually think that's one of the good things about like the realm of creativity. Like the more limitations you have, the more creative you actually end up becoming. So it's annoying, but I'm not worried, I guess.
No, sweet. No, that's good, man. So what's been happening at the moment with your videos, and what's the plans with the videos at the moment?
Mm. So yeah, so like the funny Uber ride stuff, I mean that's been continuing. Like I do like the Friday upload schedule.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll probably run out of content for funny Uber rides in like 3 to 4 weeks. No, maybe like 3-ish weeks. Um, and then I have some ideas. I'm not really, I don't know if I'm gonna like go into much detail just yet, but I've got some ideas. Like
Yeah.
the beautiful thing is I think the beautiful thing is people come to the channel, I think, just for a level of escapism, and it's just to have a bit of a laugh. Like I'm not like giving deep advice or deep information here. It's really just to make you giggle. There are a lot of ways to make somebody giggle, so that's kind of the go, I guess.
No, sweet. So what got you in the first place of starting making videos with the Uber rides?
So I used to work a corporate job, and it was pretty stereotypical situation. I was I didn't really fit in. Like I was probably the youngest person in that company by a long way. Like I think at the time I was 21, and the next oldest person was probably like in their like late 30s,
Yeah.
early 40s. The ability to, I guess, like relate and connect wasn't there as much. The company was like pretty old school. It was like selling premium like mattresses. It was a different world. So I was trying a whole bunch of different things, but one of the things that like helped me, I guess, quit that corporate job was I was doing the Uber driving for the cash. But I ended up having like banter with this passenger. She was like, "This is the type of thing that I would watch on YouTube." I was like, "No one's ever gonna watch that." But I gave it a go. I started like figuring out like the legalities and stuff around like uploading. Committed to an upload schedule. Thought it was something that I could give a go, and it just turned out to be something that I was like enjoying more than any of the other stuff I was trying, which was a lot of like reselling. I was also like white labeling products to sell, like basically like Facebook ads, Instagram
Oh,
ads,
yeah,
like drop
yeah.
shipping, that kind of stuff. Trying all these different things, and I'm like, well, this seems to be fun to edit these videos one day a week. Maybe I can like figure out how to put out content full time. And before I was making any money, I was just like, fuck it, I'm going to give it a go. And yeah, 4 years later, it's starting to make a bit of sense.
No, sweet. So with that, what's been the best part? What's been the best part of doing these videos?
Um, I've gained a skill. Like the whole, so there's, well, I guess I've gained a couple of skills. The whole process of editing a video, and like packaging it into like a consumable, watchable, digestible piece of content, like a long form content. I'd never done that before. So now I'm very confident with like my editing skills and all that kind of stuff. So that's been like a big upside. But really just, I think, more so like community building. Like even the way like this podcast came about, like shot me an email, or maybe it was a DM, and there's just like this open conversation that I absolutely love having with people that watch my videos. It's so, one, it's so easy to relate to people, but
Yeah.
two, it's also just so easy to, I guess, just have a chat. And I think in a lot of ways, um, in a lot of ways, a lot of like the people that watch my videos are quite similar to me. Like a lot of the interests are kind of similar, or at least at the most basic level, a lot of the humor is similar. So it's just an easy way to connect with a bunch of like-minded people. It's fun. So I think that community building and like participation has been like a big thing I've gotten out of it. How long
No,
how long have you been making podcasts?
I've only just started about nearly 3 weeks ago, so I haven't been doing this for long at
How,
all. So
no, sure. How are you finding it? How are you finding it though?
no, it's been good. It's good. Like I really like talking to yeah, different people and just like knowing their stories and sort of
Mm,
you know their pathways and how they've got to where they are at the moment, and also just I did try and do podcasting a year ago. I did like I'll just randomly post things up. It was more about sport and stuff like NRL, rugby league, stuff like that. But I
sure.
sort of lost interest into doing that. And then now a few weeks, about a month ago now, I was thinking about, oh, I should get back into do get podcasting, actually get into it and try and start something up. And
Mm,
I was like, what would be a good way is
mm,
just talk to just the people like you, or yeah, just the people, just talk about how they got to where they are now. And yeah,
mm.
like it's no, it's been good though. It's been good. I've
And
enjoyed it.
and do you have and this is a hard question to answer, Sab. I don't blame you if you don't have
Go
an
for it,
answer
man.
for this, because I did I did when I was 3 weeks in, but do you have like any, like say like a 5 years, what you'd love the podcast to be like, or do you want to turn it into like a live show, or is there like an
Um,
idea of
the
where
sort
you're
the
taking?
sort of idea I have is I want to sort of do what I'm doing at the moment, go with that, and then sort of make a group, sort of like a podcast group, try and get other people into my into the same brand, and they sort of upload their
Yeah,
sort of content and like talk about the stuff that they want to put up, and sort of trying to put it under the same name sort of thing. um
kind of like a sidemen kind of,
yeah,
if they
sort
did
of like
podcast.
sort of
Oh,
like that, yeah, sort of like that. And I want to also have like I want to try and have a clothing brand with this as well. I had a clothing brand about a year ago. I had to put that down, I just didn't have the money or anything like that, so I just had to stop doing that. And
okay.
but at the moment I sort of at the moment just want to just do this at the moment, try and just grow from here and see where it takes me. But in 5 years, it's a bit hard to say, but I want to sort of have
Totally.
try and grow a group, like have a group sort of. Oh no, it's weird something like that, but sort of.
No, I totally get where you're coming from. The idea of like making content with friends, I think, is
Yeah,
like, in my opinion, like one of the most fun things you can do, because it's work, but it doesn't feel like work.
yeah,
And I know that like a lot of friends that I've made through most of them through the Uber videos, or the Omega videos, uh, yeah, when you're making content with them, it's just got a different feel. It doesn't feel like work, and you can just like chat shit, have
yeah,
whatever band, or sometimes even get into like deep and meaningful conversation that can actually really like help people listening or watching. I feel that that's a cool like plan, or a cool
yeah.
goal.
And I sort of just want to grow, sort of grow people up with me, sort of thing, like on my pathway, help
Mm,
others grow as well. It's not like it's not just me, it's others,
mm,
the others around
totally.
me, that also have goals, and sort of help them, towards their sort of goals and stuff like that. So yeah, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time with this, man?
So I've been thinking about this a lot, especially like with this lockdown and these 30,000 walk days, 30,000 step walks, I should say. Um, I don't know, like at the moment, I'm making this content, which is basically like collaborative with people, and there's an audience. It's a digital audience. I love it, but I'm thinking like, or there's like a curiosity in me around audiences being live. I don't really know in what capacity. I love public speaking. It's like something that I've never really like, a muscle that I've never flexed online, because how do you public speak online?
Yeah,
But like
yeah,
there's something around that. So like I don't know if it's in the realm of um like probably not necessarily straight up stand-up comedy, but like something in front of audiences. I'm not really sure, but I'll be making content online for sure,
yeah,
in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, it's basically I'll be doing more of this, just probably in a slightly different light, or who knows. But yeah, it's hard to answer that question. It's a very difficult, where do you see yourself 5, 10, 15? Like who the hell knows where I
yeah.
see myself tomorrow?
But look how, you wouldn't, if you look 5 years back, life is very different to what you thought, you would really think that you would be, a lot of the time.
Totally.
Like,
Totally.
5 years ago, I wouldn't think I'd be doing podcasts. Like back then, 5 years ago, podcasts weren't even really wasn't really a big thing back then, really at all.
No, no. It's almost like if you got onto it 5 years ago, you were on a you were on gold. Actually, 5 years ago, no. Podcasts were, I think, 5 years ago. It's probably more like 15 years
Oh,
ago.
oh, yeah, true, true.
Like,
Well, I think it's just
yeah.
sort of risen like very more in the past 5 years. Like back 5 years ago, yeah, people did listen to it, but I think it's sort of skyrocketed up quite a bit the past few years. Because yeah, well, I didn't listen to podcasts 5 years ago.
Definitely accessibility to like just what do you call them, hosting services and stuff that we're doing,
yeah,
and then up onto like, I don't know if you use Buzzsprout or Podbean or whatever, and then it just like shoots it onto all of these like Spotify,
yeah.
Apple,
So yeah, it makes
like
it
that
so much
stuff
easier.
makes it so easy. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a pleasure. Yeah,
no, that's the
yeah,
thing. Yeah, like even with like say YouTube, and you got all these things. Like if you did it, 5 to 10 years ago, it was a bit harder to post it up, publish everything. Now it's a bit easier. You can just click one button, or just got to press a few buttons, and it's like straight on, basically, sort of thing. Where years ago it was quite a bit harder. Would have been harder to do it.
yeah, they've streamlined it. They want people to make as much content as possible. So
Yeah,
they'll make it
yeah.
pretty straightforward. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Oh, sweet. So what's the next step at the moment? What's the next step?
I think I think the next step is coming out of this lockdown and finding like a new string of momentum, because the lockdown, it's such a like line in the sand. You can't, you're not really like able to. Most of my content is collaborative, so I've done like with the Omega Banter videos, it's mostly virtual, and that's fine as like, I guess, a temporary thing, but I really love being able to have like a conversation with somebody in person. It just has such a different feel. So I understand that there's like a time and a place for what we're doing, but it'd be amazing if I could be in the same room as you and we could be having this like
Yeah.
actual face to face.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I know what you mean.
that's what's next. I'm craving like genuine human interaction. Yeah, in person.
No, so it'll be good once this like it's been very tough. Well, not for me a lot, but with you, especially you guys, will be a very tough. How long have you been in lockdown for?
So since the beginning of the pandemic, totaling I think over 230 days in Victoria.
Crazy.
But now this one, we've been in this recent lockdown, which is our 6th lockdown, for almost 2 months now, and it's gonna go probably into like, there are different like levels to it, but
Yeah.
the next like thing of restrictions easing are only going to be, I think, on the 26th of October, and they're kind of minimal. And then it's basically Christmas for the most
Yeah.
part. Yeah, is what it is. You got to adapt.
Yeah, that's it. That's all you can really do, really.
Yeah.
But I've seen that you started not too long ago podcasting as well. You're doing the podcast. How's that been going for you?
The podcast, great.
Cast.
Like it's really nice. I filmed like 10, maybe even 12 episodes of this 4-ish months ago, like a while back.
Oh, okay. Yep.
I was like, I've been sitting on these conversations, these great pieces of content for a while. But now I've like figured out a bit of a structure of like how I want to, I guess, put it all together, and I edit them. So like, the conversations with guests will be probably for like an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. I edit that into about a 40-minute conversation, so it's juicy and it's interesting and it's funny, it's punchy, but it's kind of like an extension of Funny Uber Rides. So Funny Uber Rides is an 8 to 10-minute video, fast paced, and just like as many jokes crammed into that time as possible.
Yeah.
The podcast is an opportunity to like make those jokes, but also have like a bit more of a long form conversation, and it can go anywhere, which is kind of nice. So like conversations so far have often been around like whether it's like personal development stuff or like I love stand-up comedy. A lot of the stuff was shot when the Melbourne International Comedy Festival was in town. So I was like chatting with stand-up comics and things around being cancelled and like what the story arc of a stand-up comedian is, all of this kind of stuff. It interests me. I hope it interests people. So far it's like it's gaining like a little bit of momentum, so it's nice. It's fun.
No, sweet. So so with all that, what's one thing that you've what's one moment that you've really enjoyed? Like, what's the best moment that you've had since you've been doing these videos?
Mm. The the actually, to be honest, the very first one that I launched, or like the very first podcast, I've done 5 now, but the very first one was the most recent one that I've actually filmed. So the last one that I filmed, it was with Phoebe, who's a recurring passenger in my videos. And I mean, she had told me like bits and pieces about her story, recovering from a drug and alcohol addiction, like in her teens and early 20s. But I'd like picked up bits and pieces. We never had like a proper like dived into
Real
it.
in depth
And
with it, yeah.
yeah, and she like, I mean, this is one of the beautiful things about Phoebe. She's like, all right, well, if I have like a platform to try to help people, I'll absolutely open up about it, you know, in great detail. I'm like, cool, let's go for a drive and have a chat. And I mean, I learned a shit ton, not only about Phoebe, but also just like things around drug and alcohol addictions. But it was also just nice to have a place dedicated, I guess, to have that conversation. Like something that I love about Phoebe, and like something that both of us have in common, is we both work a shit ton. We probably would be considered like workaholics.
Yeah.
So when I catch up with Phoebes, it's often like pretty high energy kind of stuff, or like we're laughing, we're joking around. We don't necessarily go into that like deeper stuff. So yeah, I really appreciated that podcast, I guess. But yeah, I've only done 5, so it's all coming.
So what's kept you motivated to keep doing this? Is it just because you're just a workaholic? Is there other things that are sort of driving you to keep doing these videos?
I think I mean, there are a couple things. I think like initially the biggest thing was when I finished high school and then went into like further study, which I hated, and then I ended up like getting a corporate job and working in that. I came from such a place. I was miserable when I was like 18, 19, because I didn't know what like I was going to do next. When you're at school, it's so, I don't want to say easy, because when you're at school, it's not easy, but it's easy to go to school and I guess coast and not like actively think about what
Yeah.
you're doing with your life. It's an institution. They tell you what you're doing with your life.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So I had so much uncertainty then. And then like when I found that I really love making these videos, and then I figured out like, you know, it took me, I think 9 or 10 months before I made like my first $100 off making these videos. And I was like, oh, okay, if I can make $100, then maybe I can make $200. And like, that excited me that like I can make an income from it. I went from a place of so much uncertainty that like, finally I have certainty over like a career or a potential career path. That just kind of like excited me to a degree that I didn't want to go back to that level of uncertainty. So I'm like, no, I'm going to stick with this. And I committed. That my whole thing was figure out an upload schedule that you can do without burning out indefinitely. And that was like at the very least every Friday. Sometimes there's a bonus episode, but it's at the very least every Friday. And I can do that indefinitely, supposedly, hopefully. So that's like that's a huge motivator. But then outside of that, I mean, like I get so much out of like I make people laugh. People enjoy the jokes and the childish humor that I bring in, and I get a lot of good feedback from it. So it's like an ongoing, just yeah, it makes it easy almost. It's just a good fit, I guess.
No, sweet. So with it, so what do you love most about your fans?
Uh there's a lot. I mean, I'd probably start. No, I'd probably start with the sense of humor thing. One of my like the most fun thing to connect with for me, the most fun thing to connect with somebody over is a joke. Some people like connecting from like a deep and meaningful conversation and these things, but and that's great. I actually really enjoy that myself, but that starts with the joke. You know, you start at small talk and then eventually you go to medium talk and
Yeah,
large
yeah.
talk. Um, Often like through DMs, it's harder to have medium and large talk. But like it starts with a joke. So if I post something, let's just say on my story, that's like a little joke, a little dumb thing. The other day I bought like a little mini spoiler and I put it on my car. And then somebody else has like I've been getting these DMs of other people buying these mini spoilers and then putting it on their car. And it's like, we're all in on the joke. It's just something stupid. I love it. It's like-minded people that have a dumb sense of humor like me. So that's probably what I enjoy the most about my audience. But there's also like another element of the some of the struggles that a lot of my audience members have been through are kind of similar to mine or have been similar to mine, like whether it's uncertainty after finishing school or maybe even like, and I'm sharing more about this stuff in like podcasts, but like going through breakups and then coming back after that, you know, and like reinventing yourself and all that kind of stuff. That's, you know, if you're going into your more medium to larger conversation, uh there's a lot of parallels between me and my audience. So yeah, I don't know, they're a good bunch, but that's probably just because I love myself because they're similar to me.
No, so yeah, you saying about yeah, your past life when you were younger. Would you be able to get more in depth? What was that stage of your life? How was that for you?
Like what time in particular? So I'm
Um,
27 at the moment. What
oh,
time frame
okay,
are you
so
looking at my
so when you were in your late teens, finishing school, in that sort of time frame.
mm. um I mean, so my parents divorced when I was 12, around there. And then so then that was interesting because that created like, you know, sometimes you're staying with your mom, sometimes you're staying with your dad. I lived with my mom,
Yeah,
but I would see them both a lot.
yeah,
And then so there's like and then there's like, you know, family politics of like my brother and sister were still living at home for different times. So like sometimes you're staying with my mom and sometimes staying with my dad. So there was that was happening like at home. And that just continued up until I guess they moved out or I moved out. But then at school, I mean, like something that actually came up in my most recent podcast was that at school, I I was quite quiet, or I was probably considered somewhat of like a goody goody. But it was because, I mean, there are a couple of reasons behind it, but like I think a big part of it was because I didn't feel like I was like the guy to be the class clown or anything like that. And I always looked up to the class clowns, and I always like loved, you know, watching it all go down when the
yeah,
class
yeah,
clown makes a joke and the teacher kind of, gets engaged and all that kind of stuff. But it's only more in my like more recent years now that I'm more comfortable being that clowny, like silly, dumb guy.
yeah.
Maybe I have like more self-confidence or self-assurance around it. And whereas I was probably a little bit more shy at school. But yeah, does that kind of answer your question? Does
No,
that paint
yeah,
a bit of a
yeah, no,
picture?
no, no, yeah, that no, that was good. I can. That's the.
How?
Yep. Sorry.
No, go on, go on.
Oh, so no, I was just saying. Yeah, I sort of relate to that. When I was in school, I was very quiet as well, and now, that now that I'm out of school, I've sort of yeah, opened up a lot more, and you know, back when I was school, I wouldn't be able to go on podcasts and just I wouldn't be able to talk to other people. I was just like I did like at school, I did go around different groups and sort of did get along with everyone, but I wasn't the person, to go out and just like you wouldn't see me going out. I couldn't go up like just talk to a big group of people listening to me or anything like that. I wasn't that type of person. But also
Did you want to be?
What's that?
At school, did you want to be that type of guy?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't really want to be. Oh well, like being the shy person.
No, at school, did you want to be I guess like I don't want to say center of attention, but did you want to have more attention?
Oh no, I haven't really been worried. Like I sort of I did feel lonely at times. Like during school, I was sort of a bit lonely at times. I felt lonely, and even that I did have a lot of mates, I felt like I was left out. I felt like I was a left out person. That's what I honestly felt like. I didn't really care about that stuff, but then some of the people that I hung around were like that. So, they were all focused on, on my other mates sort of thing. And then I'm sort of, they're just on the side, you know what I mean? I didn't like the whole, everyone focusing on me, but I didn't like, being the one person left out on their own sort of thing.
Sure. And can you think of any examples or instances where you did get that level of focus? Did you like it, or was it like, oh, I'm not really sure if this is what I signed up for?
I think, just thinking on top of my head, I'll just get really nervous. I think just thinking, I think I'll just get really just nervous and just I'd stutter. I just stutter a lot, very stutter. I still stutter quite a bit. I can stutter a little bit here and there, but I used to stutter a lot too. So I couldn't, it was really hard for me to just to talk, and I'll just skip words, repeat words all the time. So I was very would get really nervous and anxious, and so it was pretty it was pretty hard for me.
What do you think is the reason why you're less nervous or less anxious, if that is the case for you now? Was there any like personal work that you've done, or is there any like turning points?
I think it was, I started working, doing a little bit of work at I was working at Domino's for a bit, doing some customer service there, and did some warehouse, I did warehousing, but also like sales assistant, stuff like that. That helped. But also I think I started to just go out and do stuff a lot on my, I would go out on my own sort of thing. And then I would sort of find other groups of people, and then sort of just connect with them. And then I don't know, I think it was just, I sort of just got to a point where can't be, I need to start making a change for myself, and got to be more open to talking. And I think I just got more comfortable with it. I can't really exactly say how I did it, but it sort of just happened in gel, and now I can just it's much easier for me to talk to people.
Sort of kind of worked itself out.
Basically, I can't really think, I don't think I really did anything particular to really fix it. I think just experiences, just stuff just happened in my life where it just sort of just gelled.
And that's what you did. It might not have been like an active, I'm going to do X to solve Y. You just naturally, and that's probably I don't know, but that's probably I would assume that's probably like attributed to some degree of whether it's openness or conscientiousness on your end to go, all right, well, this is how I view myself now. This is how I want to view myself eventually. I have to go and chat to more people, get a job, a social job, a sales job. So there's a lot of like interaction and stuff associated with that. I mean, like I found, so I've always been a very sociable person, and like my social circles at school, for example, get my English out. My social circles at school, for example, were large, and I had lots of different, I guess, like groups of friends, and I loved that, and I loved just socializing with different people. Like I am an extrovert, I think, at least. But the lockdown last year was the first time in my life where I found myself like somewhat socially anxious afterwards. And I know this was not unique to me. I spoke to countless people that had been through some level of like lockdown for a longer period of time and then felt unnatural. But for most people, it ended after a week or two. For me, the social anxiety side of it seemed to last longer, and I was like, what the fuck's going on with me? Like, how do I, this isn't me. What's something's coming out. Why? And I started seeing a therapist about it, and it wasn't because of lockdown. Lockdown might have been the catalyst of it coming out, but it was attributed to a whole bunch of things, like workaholic kind of related things are part of it. You know, only dedicating a certain amount of time of my week to or a maximal amount of time of my week to work. Ultimately not having a balance, or saying, a lot of the time I said to myself, I'm not going to worry about, let's just say, like relationships. I'm not going to worry about dating now. That's fun. You can do that later. Now I'm working. It's a very easy, I don't want to say trap, that guys often fall into, but it's also wrong, because life is about integration, or at least I'm learning life is about integration. You don't do this, then that. You figure out what you can manage now and do it all at the same time and incrementally build out. So there's a lot around that, and in particular, so around the social anxiety, ironically, what I found that helped it was identifying fears and then figuring out how I can expose myself to those fears. This might sound a little bit weird, but I used to be terrified of needles. Like if I had to get an injection, blood test, give blood was like an absolute no-no. But I realized that in order to increase my social self, my social and my interactive skills, I needed to increase my self-esteem. And in order to increase my self-esteem, I needed to do something that I was proud of. Now, I'm proud when I clean my apartment. I'm proud of like when I wash my car or when I put things away. But that's like small scale. I needed to do something that I was really proud of. So I'm like, I'm gonna overcome my fear of needles. So I was getting like blood tests, like health checkups and all this kind of stuff. Probably a lot of the time, not probably, a lot of the time that I didn't need, I would just go get like the health checks because it involved giving blood. Of like actually going to blood banks and just been exposing myself to it as much as possible. And like, I don't think I'm 100% no longer afraid of needles, but I'm like 90% there. And I'm so proud of myself. And I find that when I have that pride, I translate that to different parts of my life. And social interaction is one of them. Like I have more of like a firm feet on the ground of like, I'm Darren, this is who I am. And that's part of like socializing, I guess. It's just owning who you are and then chatting and seeing what comes out organically, rather than being in a conversation and constantly thinking about what the other person thinks of you and all that kind of stuff. So yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome, man. That's something that I could do. That's something that I just learned, something that I could try and could try doing, um,
Mm.
yeah, how,
Yeah, fears. Who would have thought? Just
so,
identify fears, break it down, and work out how you can like expose yourself to it as much as possible. That's my 2 cents there.
so what, was that the therapist that, told you that idea? Um,
Um, no,
where did you
that's a good
get that
question.
from?
Actually,
Sorry.
I'm not really. That's a good question. I'm not really sure. I mean, like I love self-help. I love like personal development stuff. So I'm sure I picked
Yeah.
it up somewhere along the lines there. Uh, I don't think it was the actual therapist that suggested that specifically. A lot of the
Yeah.
stuff in therapy was actually related to my parents went through a divorce. So I was like, I want to make sure that because I was exposed to all of the stuff that happened and it was a pretty messy divorce, I want to make sure that I don't repeat any cycles. I don't repeat anything that I saw. Um, in my own personal relationships. And then when you delve deeper into that, it's like your relationship with your mom and your relationship with your dad, that can get into things around your own personal self-esteem. And I realized that there was room for growth in my self-esteem as well, like quite a bit. And it's funny, like all of these things can come out and you go, I've been sure of myself for all these years on, and you go a little deeper, you psychoanalyze yourself a little bit
Yeah.
more. For me, it was often through like journaling. And I was like, oh, actually, maybe in certain areas, my self-esteem sucks. Like I thought I was this, but actually I'm that. So, and that's not bad. It just means, all right, cool. Now, how do I turn that back into what I wanted it to be? So it was all just, I guess, like an ongoing conversation with myself, mostly through journaling, that I kind of got to those conclusions around fear.
No, sweet. Because I moved down this way at the start of the year. I lived up at Cairns for a good 10
Mm,
years. And when I was 11, my parents well, I think it was maybe 10 when they separated.
mm,
And
similar.
so over the years, sort of same stuff how you were saying, had to go to both houses in between the
Yeah.
weeks, mainly at my mum's place, but going between two places. And
Mm,
there's a lot of stuff that I'll look back on. It's like I want to make sure I can do better in this area. That they
mm.
like my mum and dad, they did a good job with with that situation. But I sort of look back on it and think, oh, what can I do to make sure my future future kids and my future, I'll make sure um that it's better, and my health is better, and I'm set it up better, um
Totally.
financially,
Totally.
and everything like that for when I want to, whenever that is, when I want to start a family, and and other stuff as well. Just want if I want to start a if I want to have a business, or just starting up something, or really anything really. Sort of just look back at things and oh, what's one thing I can do better that when I was younger wasn't really taught, but I can sort of learn, sort of thing
Mm.
like that.
Have you ever seen a therapist and spoken about this kind of stuff with a
No,
therapist?
it's something I've thought of. It is something I've thought of, and I should. I reckon. I believe I should. It would be good and better for my mental health, and sort of figure out
Mm.
you know get some stuff out of me, and figure out, get in depth with what's going on in my head. But yeah.
Yeah. No, like I was the same as you. It took me 2 years. I think I had the idea to start seeing a therapist around and unpack my parents' divorce. Like 2 years before I actually ended up going to see a therapist. And then I went to see a therapist, not because of that. It was more because of like the social anxiety stuff around
Yeah.
after lockdown. Um, but it was that was the catalyst. It was something that like, I always put on the back burner. Um, but man, no regrets having done it. I had like 13 sessions. Uh, then felt like I had kind of gotten enough that I needed at the time. But like, I'm so open to, it's just such a nice option to have if there's at any point, I guess I have like questions that I can't find answers to myself.
Yeah.
You can, they're good at guiding you. They're not allowed to direct you, but they help, they guide.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, it is something I've thought it, I've thought about it for probably since the start of the year. And yeah, it is something I just sort of think about and like, oh, I think I'm going to do it and sort of, I think I should do it and sort of move it along. But, hearing from you what, it's changed your life around, like what's your life like since you, went in seeing the therapist?
I think I journal at least once a week now. And that's like an ongoing thing because I found like I spend an hour with a therapist. I was spending an hour with a therapist a week, and that's fine. I'd have conversations and explain my problems, and then he would like ask questions that would direct my thinking towards a certain thing. That wasn't the therapy for me. The therapy came actually afterwards when I reflected on that stuff through journaling. That's when like the actual therapy happened because I can consolidate and expand and then consolidate my thoughts. So the journaling like habit, I guess, has been like a big thing that's been different. And the journaling itself just leads to, I guess, the fear, revelation, or like, yeah. That's like, I think that's my feeling. It's mostly the journaling.
So, yeah, with your journaling, what do you specifically write down and stuff like that?
So like, let's say I have an argument with somebody, or I have a disagreement with somebody, or I'm feeling strong emotions about someone, towards someone, something positive or negative, I'll journal around it. It's literally just writing out of your ass whatever you're thinking and just following your train of thought. And it will usually help me get to some sort of wholesome conclusion on either what I have to do or what I have to not do. It's very much to sift through my own thoughts and emotions. And I guess it just kind of, it calms me down a lot of the time.
That's sweet. So you definitely, what advice would you give to someone that's thinking about getting into wanting to see a therapist or isn't in the right mental health space at the moment?
So it's, yeah, I guess it's like, it's cool to say go see a therapist, but let's just say, all right, you've found your therapist, you go to your therapist, then what? And I was saying this to someone close to me recently, who's just started seeing a therapist. I think it's very important to have an objective, and that objective can change. But my first sentence to my therapist was, my parents were divorced well, actually, there were a couple of things. I was like, my parents are divorced, and I know that will affect my future relationships. So I want to unpack that as much as I can so that I don't make similar mistakes. I don't repeat bad patterns and things. That's been the reason why I've been wanting to go to therapy. But at the moment, I'm dealing with the social anxiety thing. And then we kind of went from there. So then I identified two, I think there might have been a third, but I identified to him two problems that I had. And that's what we were going to talk about and work through. And then it's on him or her to ask questions and get the information out of you. But I think it's very important. Okay, cool. We're going to see a therapist. What's the problem that you want to solve? And it can be anything. It can be like, I want to be able to, I want to go skydiving, but I'm afraid of heights. Or like the therapist will break it down for you and kind of like talk you through it. But find a therapist with a goal
No,
in
sweet.
mind for yourself.
Yep. No, cool, man. That's really all the questions I have, man. I really, yeah, really appreciate you coming on. That was, no, it was really good to
Yeah.
hear, your sort of story with seeing the therapist, and also what you're doing with the podcast, and also, yeah, how you're dealing with Corona and stuff. But yeah, is there anything you'd like to promote, man?
No, well, dude, well, thank you. It was a nice little chat. Like I very much enjoyed that. I feel like you gave me the time of day to just kind of like talk through my thoughts and my feelings. A lot of the time, like if I have these kinds of conversations, whether it's in podcast form or um, not that you get cut off, but like, maybe the interviewer is like a little bit like excited and it's harder to like get a free flow of conversation. But kudos to you, man. Like you're a very good listener. So that was an absolute pleasure. I the only thing I really want to promote is my website. It's darrenhub.com. There you can find everything regarding like my videos, merch, the podcast, which actually I need to add. I'm going to add later tomorrow. All of the information about what's going on with Darren Levy is at darrenhub.com.
No, sweet, man. Yeah, again, I appreciate you coming on. It was it was good that you yeah, were asking me a lot of questions. I haven't had someone I haven't interviewed someone that's asked me a lot of questions as well. So it was good to, have that back and forward sort of questioning each other back and
Conversation.
forward, and yeah, just a normal conversation instead of
Yeah, that's why I love podcasts. You can have that conversation.
no, sweet, man. Well, yeah, thanks again for coming on, and yeah, we'll have to do this again. We'll have to do this again sometime in the future, man.
Yeah, let's do it again in 6 months, and we can say where we've been and what we've achieved.
Yeah, for sure, man. But yeah, have a good one, man.
Thanks, Legend. Good
Okay,
chatting, Bill.
okay, see ya.